Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar titled Bringing Out the Hidden Security Ninjas. I am Daniela Lara. I'm the Education Coordinator here at ISACA. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few quick tips. You have two audio options. One is to listen over your computer speakers. Two, you may dial in at any time using the numbers and codes listed to the left. Please note, if you dial in, there may be a slight delay as the slides advance. All ISACA members can receive 1 CPE credit for viewing today's webinar. If you are watching this event live, you must complete 3 checkpoints. Simply click OK on the pop-ups that appear on your screen. If you are watching the recorded version of this event, your progress is being tracked, and you must watch from the very beginning to the very end to receive your CPE credit. To receive your certificate at the end of this event, click on the transcripts button within your My Learning portal, then click Submit CPE to take the required survey. We've made a job aid that goes over these steps in more detail. Click on the tabs at the top of your screen to learn more or to download a PDF version of today's presentation. Our speaker will be conducting a Q&A session towards the end of this event. If you have any questions, please click on the Q&A tab and select Ask New Question. If at any time you need technical support, please access the Help tab. And finally, if you have any questions about the CPE submission process or suggestions regarding our webinar series, please visit support.isaca.org. And now I'm very excited to be introducing our speaker. With us today is Daksha Bhaskar. Daksha has over a decade of experience in telecommunications industry in business intelligence, strategy planning, business management, governance, SOX compliance, complex technical solutions, architecture, security risk management, and cybersecurity. She currently works as a senior network security architect with its network technology team at Bell Canada. In this role, she has worked on the company's cyber threat intelligence program, as well as launched the integration of security into network virtualization initiatives and deployments. All right, take it away.
Thank you for the introduction, Daniela, and thank you for having me here for this talk. I would like to welcome everyone who has joined today. So in today's talk, I would like to offer a perspective on the state of the cybersecurity industry, where to find the security ninjas, and offer some ideas and concepts that might be of value to you. I will cover today a view of the cybersecurity battlefield, talk a bit about the Ninja Quest, look at the skill shortage, offer perspective on unrecognized ninjas, the whys of the situation we are in, offer strategies on spotting the hidden security ninjas and retaining them, and then a quick summary wrap-up of the key points we cover. A quick point to note that most slides have links to additional reference material in the footnotes, many of which make for very interesting reading. I would encourage you to look at them. So let's get started. Zenshin. In Japanese martial arts, Zenshin is a state of awareness, a state of relaxed alertness. Zenshin is a state when the mind is fully vigilant and aware of its surroundings. And this is something that is important in any battlefield, and especially the cybersecurity battlefield. So let us take a look at a very rudimentary sketch of the cybersecurity battlefield. On a very rough sweep, in broad terms, we see 3 groups of players on the cybersecurity battlefield. First, on the left, you have the attackers. This is a group that is spread throughout the world, is diverse also in skill sets and access to resources. They range from script kiddies to sophisticated hackers to sponsored nation states. This group preys upon the second group, the top right there, the users of technology. This user group includes everybody. This group is global, includes sophisticated, technology-savvy users, includes women, children, senior citizens, businesses, consumers, and even people with low technical knowledge. So there is a very wide range with lots of vulnerability to prey upon. Now the third group, the security professionals, the ones who design technology, who act as guardians of information, and the guardians of the users of technology, if you will, defending them from the attacker group. Now this group, interestingly, is generally homogeneous, mostly male, and not representative of the target profile group. So to add to this group has a severe skill shortage. So I think you might start seeing the obvious reason as to the imbalance and as to why this is. But let us talk a little bit about the skill shortage situation. So technology is proliferating at an unprecedented rate. Technology and its usage is simply exploding. And with IoT, even common home devices have a security consideration. And each device is now generating data, resulting in petabytes of data that can be subject to exploits. Big data and cloud services also bring in hosts of new vulnerabilities. And there are numerous other technologies and applications around and in the works. Security that used to be a problem or concern of the IT department has become a business concern and found its way into executive boardrooms. Security has grown from a pure technology play into broader organizational strategy and risk management practices. And Cisco has put a number out there. Currently, 1 million security practitioners are gapped. And by 2019, 1.5 million are needed. And globally, security jobs are growing at 12 times the rate of the overall job market. And of course, this leads us into a desperate security ninja quest. So the ninja quest. So when you look at security job descriptions and postings, who do they appear to be targeting? A ninja, a geek, detective, superhero, spy cat? Basically, they appear to be looking for the stereotype that's out there for a security professional. These postings often have an unending list of requirements and an unreal collection of security and IT skills. The result? Cannot find skills, cannot afford the ninja, poor retention rates as these handful of ninjas move around, and many of us know a lot of talented people trying to get into the security industry, but cannot seem to break in. And then there are talent pools of women, candidates from non-STEM disciplines, and foreign-trained candidates who get overlooked. And I will speak about this a little bit later on. So while we are focused on looking for the stereotype, who do we continue to overlook? The hidden ninjas. Approximately 50% of the global population are women. Women influence 70 to 80% of all consumer purchasing, and their pockets are getting deeper, with increased global incomes forecasted to reach $18 trillion by 2018. They are half of the users of technology groups and certainly make attractive targets by virtue of the described user and financial profile. There are many reports speaking to the economic benefits of engaging women in the workforce. McKinsey has a report that indicates that if there was parity in employment, 12 trillion could be added to the global GDP by 2025. And in intelligence and defense sectors, the U.S. military studies report that collective intelligence of groups increase as the percentage of women in the group increases. Women make vital contributions by participating in national security. So there's tremendous opportunity for not just social and economic productivity to be had by including women, but significant advantage in intelligence, in security postures by integrating women into cybersecurity teams. I would like for us to take a moment to consider this thought. People who think differently because of their gender, culture, race, or training attack and defend themselves differently and bring unique value to cybersecurity teams. Think about it. We've already looked at the profile of the attacker group on the cybersecurity battlefield. For example, we know that certain nations, quote unquote, are famous or infamous for their cyber attacks and exploits. Therefore, including insights with the relevant cultural context or technical training from that region, understanding political motivations, offers teams alternate perspectives that can enable strengthen the security defense strategy and posture. The global diverse attackers and attack tactics need diverse defense tactics. In this situation, there is strength in bringing together differences. So what's going on? Women are approximately 50% of the global population, yet we have only 11% representation in the cybersecurity profession. And I'm advised anecdotally that the 11% figure is likely elevated and very likely includes women in marketing, project management, and HR, as in functions that are essential, yet peripheral and related to security rather than core cybersecurity roles. From 2013 to date, there has been a lot of talk in the media about women in cybersecurity, and yet the statistics don't show a change. 56% of women still leave leave the field mid-career. And the reasons that women leave are not what people typically think. And this breakdown here is quite interesting to note. Of the women who leave, 24% take non-technical jobs in other companies, 22% become self-employed in the technology field, and 10% go work for startups. So this is an indicator that something is amiss in the workplace. We're doing a lot better with new grad recruitment. However, not much has changed with the acceptance of women as security experts or in the state of the industry, leaving us with a continued leaky pipe. Now, if the turnover rate for women was around the same as for men, we could attribute this as the industry baseline. However, it is double that for men. And there are some good reasons for this, and we'll look into that. So as a side fun fact, there's a concentration of women in GRC that comes out in surveys. That's the governance, research, and compliance domain of security. So with that, let's do a couple of poll questions. The intent of these questions are just to offer an opportunity for reflection, observation, and awareness. I want to say Zanshin again. So there is no right or wrong answer. So let's look at the first poll question. In your organization, do women participate in developing your security posture and security solutions? Yes, no, don't know. In your organization, do women participate in developing your security postures and security solutions? Okay, so results are coming in. So we have, which is very interesting to note, and I think numbers are still coming in, but there are about 75% report that there are women participating in security in their organization. 14% no, and 12% don't know. That's a good indicator, at least of the audience that we have here today. Let's dig a little bit deeper and see how we hold up here. So to your knowledge, what areas of cybersecurity do women participate in your organization? Marketing, strategy, HR, education, and training? Security policy, risk management, this is around the GRC domain that I mentioned earlier. Security engineering, IT architecture, the core technical skills. Security threat analysts and security operating centers. Senior management, CISO, CTO, CIO, directors. No women in cybersecurity, and other. Very interesting distribution that's coming in. So we have about 21% in the marketing, strategy, and education training. So this is kind of around the security space. 28%, which kind of reflects the inclination of having more women in security policy, risk management, almost 28% now, it's jumped in front of my eyes there. About 18% in engineering and technical aspects, 14% as threat analysts, 11% in management, and now that's starting to drop. And there are some organizations with no women in cybersecurity, 4%, and there are others that we don't know yet. So I would prescribe a little bit of attention and awareness as well. So this is a good exercise to check the distribution of where women are in cybersecurity in your organization. Okay. So let's look at the whys of the situation we are in. And there are many broad socio-cultural issues that pervade our societies and economies across different parts of the world. And there are really broader issues, but in this talk, we will keep focused on cybersecurity. So the image of the cybersecurity industry. Here is a common internet meme that captures the stereotype of the cybersecurity industry that is essentially masculine. Feminine is not reflected anywhere here, and feminine is often considered ineffective in this space. The image is seen as promoting the bro culture. Sorry to break the news, gentlemen. And women are often not treated as peers or really included in this in the scenario. Women don't see other women in this space, and essentially they have no role models. Women don't relate to the security industry stereotypes and often don't even see themselves in these roles. Even qualified women often find it hard to see themselves in roles in the security industry, especially when you're looking at an image like that. Next. The business of security is often built around maintaining confidentiality and keeping secrets. A secret, by definition, is about knowledge kept between select individuals and excludes others. There is an inherent factor to the security business that is about exclusion. And additionally, and for good reasons, principles of need to know and least privilege, and there is a place for these, absolutely. However, when they are misused to create and maintain cliques and clubs, they exclude newcomers, and it is overwhelming for new entrants to the industry. And this issue kind of impacts new entrants in general. It's not necessarily women alone. Another factor, and oftentimes concepts like security by design, slows down teams that are trying to make a product or service functional or operational. And these teams perceive security as a hindrance that slows down their deliverables unnecessarily. This sometimes puts security professionals in an adversarial posture for no other reason than that they're doing their job. Even qualified candidates experience these barriers to entry, and sometimes established security professionals struggle for acceptance. This can be very discouraging for newcomers and women who venture into the field. The leaky pipe in cybersecurity. We cannot talk about Paul's principle without talking about Peter's principle first. And as you know, Peter's principle states that every employee tends to rise to his level of incompetence. This principle primarily speaks to men, and for women, it is Paul's principle that is at play. Now, Paul's principle states that women work a level below their level of competence. And this inherently means that women stay well within their own comfort zone in the workplace. Studies show that this is not about women lacking in ambition, but more about the barriers they experience in the workplace. Women are inclined to be more reticent and not necessarily put themselves forward or actively seek promotions in consideration of the work environments they are in. Even job descriptions that simply state salary negotiable. Studies show that women tend to negotiate while women accept offers. So women often underplay their own financial opportunities. However, chances are the job description and the salary negotiable type of postings are developed by men. So here is a situation that is not inherently set up to trap women, so to speak, but it does not work in their favor either. Additionally, women are generally more inclined towards peer bonding, that is horizontal networking, than vertical networking. And it is vertical networking that offers insights into the upper echelons of the security industry. So overall, there are many reasons for dissatisfaction of women mid-career in the workplace, resulting in the leaky pipe that we see in the cybersecurity space. While we see statistics that there are more women graduating from post-secondary educational institutions, I believe it's at about 60% of all graduates at this time. This is all disciplines. The workplace certainly does not reflect this. Here is another hurdle that combines the natural inclination of women with the prevailing culture in the security industry. We all like to believe in meritocracy. And meritocracy is a theory that suggests that the harder you work, the farther you go. And this is by no means a flawless concept. There are several interesting documentaries out there on how the theory of meritocracy came about and how it works or hinders diversity. I would encourage you to Google it if this is a topic of interest. It is by no means flawless and in fact often called as the myth of meritocracy. Now add to that other effects. Studies show that women experience the Madame Curie effect, which means women have a tendency to overcompensate for being in a male-dominated field. Women believe they must become more qualified, develop exceptional ability to compete with men in a male-dominated science. And in some ways, this is similar to the compensation that would go alongside the imposter syndrome. So women are carrying an extraordinary burden of requirements, sometimes self-imposed, instead of experiencing a level playing field that treats them at par. Then there is the prove it again. Once in the industry, women need to keep working twice as hard to repeatedly proving themselves and their skills instead of acceptance as afforded to the more traditional participants in the industry. Again, women carry an extraordinary burden to success instead of experiencing a level playing field. And unconscious bias. Unconscious bias refers to a bias we are unaware of. It happens outside our control. It is a bias that happens automatically and is triggered by our brains making quick judgments and assessments of people and situations, influenced by our background, our cultural environment, and personal experiences. So let's look at an example. So studies showed that when an identical CV is sent with a female name versus a male name, or an European American name versus an African foreign sounding name, mind you, the CV is identical. And regardless of the evaluating staff, the receiving staff, whether they're male or female or European American or diverse, it was found that there is a 50% higher likelihood of a candidate with a European American name for receiving an interview invitation than it is for candidates with an African American sounding name. Similarly, it is 50% more likely that the CV review would result in an interview invitation if the candidate's name on the CV is male than if it is female. So this shows that unconscious bias towards certain stereotypes exists across all groups. It's men and women and Caucasian or diverse backgrounds, making this an insurmountable obstacle to enter the cybersecurity field. And if you're like me, with a name like mine, my resume would make it through to an interview only a quarter of the time to some of my other colleagues. So unconscious bias goes, of course, beyond recruitment. It could result in women's talents, specifically technical talents, being overlooked, women not being hired into security roles, women not being promoted, women being offered fewer leadership and technical and training opportunities, women being paid less, biased performance evaluations, and there are a host of things that can be impacted due to unconscious bias. However, if you feel you do not have an unconscious bias, I would encourage you to take the Harvard Implicit Bias Test. I have a link on the slide there, and check it out for yourself. It's very fascinating. It's a very interesting test. I would certainly recommend it. So what can we do? Know the security skills you seek. Most mature security professionals do not have formal security education. They did not go to ninja school. Cybersecurity education programs continue to mature, and there are a wide range of security certifications available today. However, there is no ultimate ninja school to go to and grab and hire the best cybersecurity graduate skills. Ninjas of today are self-taught. Additionally, security spans people, process, and technology. And by this spread alone requires a wide array of skills, technical to softer psychological, social, people skills, and not all attacks target technology. Think about phishing, farming, and fraud that are much more people or process-centric that make non-technical education very valuable for security. And security also requires diverse domain expertise. Again, harnessing diverse educational backgrounds, technical, operational, engineering, strategy, forensics, risk, regulatory, governance, audits, and many others. This is a very vast domain and a very big field. Let's take a quick glance at the table to the right. Now, this shows only a small segment of the security industry, that is the women in management positions today in security. And you can see that most security practitioners are not engineers. They range from computer science graduates, business graduates, all the way to social sciences and others. This tells us that we actually do have a very large span of educational backgrounds to choose from when hiring for a security role and be successful. And you need to select people based on the domain expertise that's required for that specific role. So what is a ninja career? When I went for my first security engineering interviews, the first question I was asked was, "Are you a security ninja?" And not knowing quite what to say, I responded, "I could be." Just so you know, that is not the right answer to that ninja question. But it's also a clue, if you ever run into that the hiring person is looking for a stereotype. So when hiring, define the role clearly and the career path. For example, if you're hiring a risk analyst, be clear. You're looking for a junior risk analyst. The scope is, for example, contracts and regulations. The career path leads to a senior risk analyst role, and then to become an information security risk manager, perhaps. This clarifies, one, for the hiring person, for the person hiring, the skills you need, and two, for the candidate, what the path looks like. So this makes it easier to find the talent that you're looking for and improve retention rates as the candidates know what they're getting into. So if you look at the sampling of security careers on the slide there, the skills needed and pathways are quite distinct and different. For example, the personnel security staff, the skills needed for that role are completely different and distinct from a network security architect. So be clear about the domain expertise required for the role. And oftentimes, when we hear someone lamenting about skill shortage, stop and explore what skills they are looking for. Sometimes you find that they're even looking for pen testers or firewall implementers. And truthfully, many skills are teachable. And oftentimes, even various vendors who provide these applications and devices will offer training. So be flexible on the pre-qualifications of the candidate and be clear about what can be taught via courses, what can be learned on the job. And remember that the ninjas of today did not become ninjas right at the outset. Now, security has also evolved from being a role in the IT department to roles across various departments across almost all vertical industries. For example, consider, so if you are hiring in the finance industry, and are you hiring a finance person and teaching her security skills? Or are you hiring a security person and teaching finance industry skills? And oftentimes, it is a team of both or different skills working together that is the correct answer. And this might actually ease your quest for the very unique talent set and might actually find the resources you need. So be wary of falling into seeking the stereotypes for the role when hiring. So let's look at the workplace. The image of the industry definitely needs to be overhauled. We need to dismantle the old boys club, no to bro culture, hoodies, sweats, flip-flops. This is more than just outward appearances, but it's about the shift in the culture. And of course, zero tolerance for disrespect of women colleagues. If you speak with women in the cybersecurity industry, you will be quite shocked to hear how often they've been asked to serve coffee, take notes, or pretty up slides, or not taken seriously as security initiative leaders, in spite of their skills and competence. And there are a couple of articles I have linked here. So be aware. I want to say, Janshin again, are you treating new entrant women the same way as the men? Are they being asked to take notes, answer the phone, manage meetings, assign administrative tasks more often? Are they being engaged in their professional expertise and developed for the reason they were hired? And I want to say this as well. So most large organizations have policies for diversity and code of business conduct. However, because of the hype of the security world, often security departments get a free pass for behaviors of exclusion and exceptions that would not be tolerated in other departments in the company. Enforce corporate governance and code of conduct on security divisions and departments. I think that will help. So retention in the workplace. Specific legwork is required above and beyond the norm in the area of security. There is work to be done until the gap is bridged, at least until a reasonable retention rate is established. Be accountable and hold people managers accountable for the integration, development, and performance of women on staff. Maintain statistics and scorecards and metrics on distribution of women and diversity in cybersecurity roles. Monitor retention and advancement of women over a period of time. Then there are issues like Paulus principle, the Madame Curie effect, and the prove it again factors that act like glass ceiling for women. And we need concerted efforts to overcome various such barriers. To reward and incent the women who stay, and establish perhaps exit interviews for women leaving the profession to understand what factors are driving this in your work environment. So in recent times, there has been a lot of conversation around integrating women in the workplace. And there are many programs out there that help promote and recruit women. So there is no need to really reinvent the wheel. Here is an example of an Engineers Canada program, where the current national average of licensed women engineers in Canada is at 17%. In their 30 by 30 program, Engineers Canada has set a goal of achieving 30% representation of women in engineering by 2030. Their initiative provides ideas and programs towards this on the right, and there's lots of options. Actually, if you explore their website, there's a lot of ideas and activities that would help. And this is just an example. There are many out there. So cybersecurity can leverage a lot of what's already out there, but do keep in mind that the talent pool for security is much broader than engineers or STEM fields. The pool is very large and diverse for cybersecurity. Unconscious bias. Everybody has unconscious bias, and we cannot cure unconscious bias. And unconscious bias can be addressed by self-awareness. When hiring for cybersecurity talent, panel members are encouraged to slow down the decision-making process, reconsider reasons for decisions, question the cultural stereotypes, monitor each other for unconscious bias. This approach needs to be taken into account not just for the hiring process, but also in terms of performance evaluation, promotions, and all opportunities presented in the workplace. Keep in mind that even women, diversity, and minorities have unconscious bias. This is something for everyone to work at. Mentoring, and a very important topic for cybersecurity. Mentoring in the security space, it needs to go above and beyond the traditional formal mentoring. In traditional mentoring, the mentor shows the mentee the ropes and leaves. However, with security, mentors need to stay engaged with an interest in the progress and integration of their mentees. In this industry, men are our biggest champions and allies. Well, think about it. About 90% of the security industry are men. They hold the positions of rank and power. They make the majority of the hiring decisions and shape the industry. Guidance on succeeding here in this situation lies with men, at least at this time. They have a lot of insight. An industry-established mentor can help break barriers for the protege, create acceptance, or even if reluctant amongst their peers, can help challenge the prevailing bro culture in the industry, and have a vested interest in the success of his protege. So please do consider mentorship. It has a lot of value in the security space. Now the role of women's networks. I oftentimes see gender imbalance in the security industry perceived as a women's issue and relegated to women's networks to resolve. And each time I hear this, I find it very worrisome. Women's networks offer amazing information sharing opportunities and access to the small number of women in leadership roles as role models and mentors. Typically, women's networks are more likely to offer opportunities for horizontal networking and less vertical networking simply by virtue of the numbers at this time. However, gender equity and integration of women in cybersecurity is not a women's issue. It cannot be resolved in isolation in women's networks. At this time, since 90% of the industry are men, it requires engagement from the majority to make an impactful change or difference in this area. Gender equity is an economic, social, intelligence opportunity for our society as a whole. It requires engagement of the whole society, of the social whole, that is like everyone, to correct this imbalance. A partnership of differences in networking is the most valuable type of networking for cybersecurity. So with that, in summary, Danshin, it is a state of awareness, of relaxed alertness. Be aware of the state of the cybersecurity battlefield and the players. Be aware of the image of the industry, the hype, the closed information circles and cliques. Be aware of the hidden security ninjas. Security talent potential is everywhere. Be aware of the essential skills required for the role. Set clear career paths. Consider women and diversity to create balanced teams. Raise and train new security ninjas and retain them. Be aware of unconscious bias in yourself and in others. Danshin. And then balancing the cybersecurity battlefield is not a women's issue. It belongs to everybody. In cybersecurity, women and diversity benefits everyone. It results in economic benefits, superior intelligence outcomes, helps overcome skill shortage, and ultimately achieve stronger security postures. So bring out the hidden security ninjas. And with that, I want to thank the audience for the attention and bring us to our final poll question. considering the information shared today, what are you likely to do differently? Pay specific attention. I think you can check all of that apply, right? In this case, yeah. Pay specific attention to support and encourage women in cybersecurity. Recruit from various education disciplines and skills into security roles. Create clear job descriptions and succinct career paths for security roles. Be more aware of unconscious bias in self and others. Consider mentorship, be a mentor, seek a mentor. Something else, do nothing. Good, the answers are starting to come in, and this gives me a sense for the messages that came through, I hope, and what you will take away and make that difference that's so needed for the cybersecurity space. So that's awesome. So far we have 22% would pay more attention and be supportive and encourage women in cybersecurity. 14% would consider recruiting from wider education disciplines and skills. 18% that's clear job descriptions and succinct career paths. Okay, we have 26% with unconscious bias, so we've created an awareness. That's awesome. And 17% mentoring is very powerful in security, both for all genders, on both sides of the fence, very valuable. 17%. 4% would do something else, and 4% would do nothing. Okay, so with that, I will, if you had further questions or if you wanted to connect with me some other aspect, here's my contact information. I also wanted to mention that I do have an article with the ISACA Journal as well as a podcast that you might be able to get a hold of from the archives. It might be something tangible and might help you in this, and it's on the same topic. I think the article is both in English and Spanish, and there's a podcast as well. So with that, I think we can move to Q&A. As a woman in cyber, I'm interested in what your recommendations for mentoring opportunities are. As a woman in cyber, I'm interested in what your recommendations for mentoring opportunities are. So for cybersecurity, I would totally recommend not limiting yourself to the formal form of mentoring at all. Please don't look for a structure. If you come across people who are looking, or even young students, even people mid-career in the field or around security, I would encourage opening the dialogue. Make yourself available to this person if you're in cyber. Offer the support, and open the dialogue, and that's the right starting place for the mentorship relationship. Here, very interesting presentation. What advice would you give the foreign IT accounting professionals in transition to North America on how to acquire cybersecurity skills? The question just cut out on me. But basically, what I'm hearing is it's somebody in an adjacent profession in a different vertical industry looking to get into the security space. And this is where, because security is so wide and it's no longer in the IT departments anymore, almost anybody who has a specific industry skill set, you would almost be valuable because you bring the knowledge from the finance industry, you understand the financial regulations, and you would understand their security standards that would go with that industry. So it brings a very nice mix. So I would encourage you to look at this time, because we don't have that ninja school yet, to seek some of the very good certifications that are out there, establish yourself, get some security knowledge, and then present yourself within that industry vertical with that skill set, you would actually be a very rare talent pool, right? Because you bring the blend of a couple of industries into the space. Let's see. So there seems to be a common theme on similar webinars that there is a lack of people with the technical skills. However, employers do not want to train existing employees. Instead, they rather hire someone with the skill sets. It seems that existing employees are being told to go spend outside of work and attending training. If that occurs, employees will leave their current employers. Okay, so the ideal scenario would be for employers to go ahead and train the existing employees who want to enhance the skill sets and thus build in-house expertise. So this is accurate. We do have some issues that really, really need to be fixed. Absolutely. So when you're looking for security talent, you don't necessarily have to source it from the outside. Because the ninjas really don't, there's a handful of them, but mostly they need to adapt to your environment, and you're looking for the raw material that you can bring into the security discipline. So actually recruiting inside your organization is a very smart move. They know the baseline framework of how your organization operates. And actually they might even have better exposure to vulnerabilities specific to you, even before you bring them into a security role. So there is a lot of creativity to be had in the hiring process, even in terms of how you seek talent and where you seek talent. So that's an excellent question, and thank you for actually allowing me to make the point that the hiring process does need some creativity for security. So what type of training would you recommend for a woman trying to move from GRC to a more cybersecurity related space? Okay, so I do see GRC is very much a core security area. Please don't perceive that it is not. It does take a lot of expertise to be in that space as well. So I'm assuming when you say you want to move in more to cybersecurity, you're looking for more technical skills. I would recommend seeking out more technical training, even partnering with some of your colleagues who are more technical in nature within the organization would actually help you build the skills. You can consider local colleges. There are even vendor-provided training when it comes to, it really depends on what you're looking to do. There's quite a lot of resources out there that would help you move in the right direction. Okay, so the question here is, what are the certifications that may be taken up to upskill ourselves? And this is a very open-ended question. It really depends on what you're trying to achieve, your career path. And like I listed out, security is, again, very, very wide. Are you looking to come in as a pen tester, as a technical expert, or is it development and personnel security? There are quite a few organizations out there that have catalogs of certifications that you could take up. Okay, so I have another question. How do you think these issues can best be shared without conflict in such a male-dominated industry where there are no female tech or security leaders? This is excellent. And I can certainly relate, and I suspect there's a lot of women who are in the minority who are in this position. And I think I would have to say this from first-hand experience that confrontation does not really work. There is maybe an opportunity now that there's a lot of studies out there, there's a lot of reports out there that I even referenced throughout this presentation, that you might be able to gently broach. I think there's a very clear report that came out recently from with ISC Square and the Alpha Associates and a couple of other companies together that actually has very upfront statistics on the state of women in security. And actually, there's a lot of reports even throughout this presentation that you could actually share. And mostly, I would almost suggest pitching the value. It's always a successful business case that will help you sell a product, right? If you are able to talk about the intelligence values, the economic benefits, and reports consistently show that companies with women in boards and in senior roles actually consistently outperform companies that don't involve women. So this can be brought up in a very positive way in terms of the value you bring, and certainly have a dialogue. Maybe even start small. It might even help to bring that up with a mentor. You might find your allies, maybe one or two. There are many men who are looking for a balanced cybersecurity work environment, and they're quite willing to help you when you do reach out. So look around for who's around you. Put a positive business case, because there's definitely value. It just needs to be recognized. Sharing the facts of the matter. And I really wish you all, a lot of luck. I really hope you succeed in making headway in the industry. What advice can you give an internal auditor who seeks to transition into the cybersecurity field? That's an interesting question, because you're already in the audit field. And security audits is just adjacent to you, right? So it's just a matter of taking a side step into the security space as a security auditor. I think ISACA has some amazing courses on audit, and the certification out there as well that could help. And I think with that, you would very easily move into the security field. Okay, next question. Would you recommend checking, communicating with HR, and offering to shadow people in the job type you're looking for? Absolutely, that's a fantastic idea. In most companies, again, as I was mentioning in the studies, most companies are very supportive. They're looking for an inclusive environment. HR particularly understands the value of a balanced work environment. So asking for opportunity to shadow the people that you're looking for, or roles that you aspire for, that's a fantastic idea. Certainly, I would recommend that. Do you have a listing or knowledge of top companies breaking the norms with regards to hiring and retaining cybersecurity ninjas? There are some companies that I see in the media. I could not comment firsthand, because and some of those companies are actually authored some of the papers I recommend. I've run into Deloitte and Ernst & Young. There's a few companies whose names come up. I don't have a comprehensive listing as such, and those companies would probably be the leaders in the space. But at the end of the day, the change needs to occur in all companies. It needs to be industry-wide. So I wouldn't necessarily try to make a leap looking for those companies who have wrapped their heads around the value of having women. But I would try to drive change wherever you are, however small it is. It makes a difference to the industry. We need to progress as a whole. So please do continue to make a case for yourselves. It is very important for security. And I think that was the last question, Daniela. So I'm so grateful to everybody for attending this webinar, and I'll turn it over to you, Daniela.
All right, thank you. Looks like that's all we have time for today. So I'd like to thank Dashta for that great presentation and really interesting Q&A session. If you are interested in more information on this topic, ISACA released a study this spring on women in technology that highlights some of the barriers women face in the workplace. You can find the survey at isaca.org or sheleadsit.org. Don't forget to check out the tabs at the top of your screen to view additional resources from today's presentation. Once again, thank you for attending this event and for your attention and participation. Have a great rest of your day.